Hello, how are you today? From abuse to the ministry, Marshall Brandon has traveled many paths. He and his co-author, Lisa Kibler, share his story today, and they'll also answer the question that so many of us ask at the beginning of this process. Why should we be marketing a book that we haven't even published yet? Hi, I'm Patricia Durgan, and this is Marketers on Mission. We offer tutorials and interviews to help Christian writers and speakers take their message online. This is episode number 105. My guests, Lisa Kibler and Pastor Marshall Brandon. Hello, both of you. How are you today?
Hi, Patricia. How you doing?
I'm fine. We're just rocking and rolling over here with Facebook Live. You never really know what's going to happen. But that makes it fun, doesn't it?
It does.
And both of y'all are good to roll with the punches, aren't you?
Yes, we are. What's up, Facebook? What's up?
Come on.
We got really dark all of a sudden. You look like you're in a nightclub now.
Yes, it's dark. It's raining here. Should I turn some lights on? Hold on. Keep it on. I'm going to turn some lights on.
Okay.
On the way out. Okay.
Well, I'm interested in everything that you have to say. Oh, that's much better. Much better.
There we go.
I'm interested in everything that you and Marshall have to say today. I know it's going to be a good show. We've already had a few little glitches. And for me, that means that the enemy's trying to bother us. So it just encourages me to keep going.
Yes.
Let me start with you, Marshall. You've got quite a story. But before we dig into that, let's first talk about how you and Lisa met. You've known each other for years, haven't you?
Yes, we have. It's interesting. I'm just thinking about that. Yeah, Lisa and I had the privilege of meeting at our local church, and where I pastor. And her and her husband, we met early on and went out on a date, double dated with our families, both of us, husbands and wives, and we went and saw a good friend who was performing. And from then it was on. We had a great time out and just fell in love with each other and became more than friends, but family who were friends. Because sometimes in the family, you're not always friends, right? So we became family who were also friendly toward one another. So we met, and then later on, Lisa and I had an opportunity to work together for a number of years.
Yeah. I was his assistant for 7 years.
That's a long time. And you're still friends.
That's a long time.
That's a long
Yes.
time.
Yes.
And
We
she
sure
didn't
are.
kill me and all that.
She's not going to tell me how close she came. Working together before becoming co-authors really allowed you to get to know one another, didn't it? You know what are the buttons to push, which ones are the ones to stay away from, and that really set you up for success as co-authors, didn't it?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, because we got a lot of inside jokes. We had a great time working together and having fun together. And you're right, getting to know one
Yeah. It was great ministry. Every time I went into his office, I felt like I was going in for a sermon. So, yeah, that was.
Are you one of those pastors?
another. I can't help it. I just have to, what's in a man and come out. You just don't help it.
It's true. Oh my goodness gracious. Lisa, tell us about the day that you went to ask Marshall if he would let you help him write his book. His response confirmed to you that this was a God conversation. What did he say?
Absolutely. I think I went in with a little bit of trepidation because I didn't feel qualified, but I had been getting a lot of comments about things I had been writing, and everybody kept telling Marshall, you need to tell that story because he shares his testimony in so many ways to so many people. And I walked in to offer to take a shot at writing it. And before I could even say anything, Marshall says, how would you like to take a shot at writing the memoir? So I said, guess why I just walked in here? That was quite an affirmation.
So what is this story that's so dynamic, Marshall? We want to hear it from you. But will you move up closer to the camera for us so we can hear you better?
How y'all doing?
That's perfect.
I can't give the exclusive. It's a great question. It's I like to say it's not really my story, but it's God's story in me and through me and what he's done. So this whole book is not so much about Marshall Brandon as it is what God has done in and through Marshall Brandon. So we're going to tell God's story in Marshall's journey. And so that's what we're excited about. We're hoping and praying. We've been praying from the beginning, before we ever wrote anything, that we would do something that would bring glory to God. And what would the focus of the book be, and some of those kind of things as we address those questions. So that's the story. And
can you give us an overview of your life? Not necessarily the book, but your life.
My life, yeah. I'm one of 6 children, born to Ed and Ruth Brandon, and my dad was one of 18 children. Actually, my grandfather was a slave, and we're from Alabama. We were born in Huntsville, Alabama. I was born actually in Orange Crossroad, Alabama. And so my dad was the youngest of 8. He moved to Youngstown, Ohio, where I was born. I was born in Huntsville, but actually Youngstown, Ohio. And from there, all kind of things began to happen. Life from coming from the South, to being people of color, African American, and all the things we experienced in and through that family dynamics that weren't so good, and a lot of pain in that, a lot of learning, and just how God kept me. And I was able to see that later on. I mean, when you're going through, it's not easy, but you look back and see what a awesome God he is, and how he had his hand on you the whole time and had a plan for my life. I was I'm so enthused about that. And that's some of what we want to share, if I can just leave it right there for now. But
Yes. That's perfect. That's perfect. So we're talking about a lot of drama, a lot of obstacles, and Christ helped you move over or through or under or around, whatever it was. He guided you through the whole process.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, he did. As he continues to do, because he won't leave you, he won't forsake you. So not only was he with me then, he's still with me, and he's going to be with me. We're going to be together forever. So I'm sure really looking forward to that as well.
Yeah. I will tell you something. I would not have wanted to meet him back in the day.
Understand.
This man you see now just oozes Christ. And that is so apparent. I've heard that from so many people. And if you just look at him and just hang with him, you know it, you feel it, you see it.
And he doesn't change us, he tempers us, doesn't he?
Well, I'd have to say he changes it. He transformed me. So it's transformation. We know scripturally that we are to be conformed to this world, but transformed by the renewing of our minds. So all that takes place when we're redeemed and reconciled back to God began to take place in my life. So I'm not the same person. While my personality, you're right on that. He gives us that. That doesn't change. But how we think changes. As a man thinketh, the Bible says, so is he. Watch out now. I don't want to go to preaching yet.
Okay.
Get out of his office.
I got my white handkerchief right here. And that's what I meant, was that he doesn't change our personality. He tempers it if it needs to be tempered. But he does transform our thinking all the way. He transformed my thinking all the way from the core instinct all the way back up. So I'm familiar with that path. Different background, but familiar with that path of complete change. But still the personality and so forth, the laugh, the way you look, those things stay in place. And they should. People can recognize you once you're saved. Otherwise, they wouldn't know you. And Lisa, you have a great photo on your blog that shows the two of you sitting together, signing the book contract.
That was the contract for the agency. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I couldn't sign it without Marshall being there. There's no way. Because of what God has done through both of us that this is all happening. So I give God all the praise, and Marshall had to be there. But thanks. Yeah, that was fun. That was a fun day.
Let me check Facebook really quickly and see if we have any comments or questions. Kathy Klopp says, "Hey, Lisa and Marshall, watching from Edisto Beach. Can't wait to read your book."
Thanks, Kathy. What's up, Kathy?
And Marshall and his wife also traveled down the path with you as far as they could go when your husband's situation could, didn't they?
Oh, they sure did. Right there with me. My husband, Sam, got diagnosed with cancer. Marshall and Tick held my hand and held Sam's hand throughout the whole thing. And when he went home to be with the Lord, they clung even closer. So, Yeah, they've been great.
Friends like that are just a treasure, aren't they?
They are. They are. It's amazing how God knits us together and has the plan, knowing that knowing our past, knowing our present, and knowing our future, but knowing what's coming down the pike. Of course, we don't know what tomorrow even holds, but God knew that and put us together as family and again.
So everything was already stabilized and formed before the tragedy.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So now Marsha, you haven't been to a Christian Writers Conference, is that right? Only Lisa?
Only Lisa. So I'm depending on Lisa. If it goes wrong, it's going to be Lisa's fault. I'm getting all the information. This is our ambassador right here. This lady right here. She's amazing. She's amazing. So,
good Lord willing, I'd love to take him to a conference when the book has been published and it's been submitted for an award.
There we go.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
All glory to God.
Go ahead, girl. Go ahead. Say that. Say that.
I'm going to bring him with me.
You would be a welcome addition to any writers conference or speakers conference.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, are y'all both speaking? Is that one of the ways that you're getting the word out about your book or your current ministry?
We will, as opportunity presents itself. Again, we are, as we get to that question, how do we do this and why do we want to do it? So we're still learning. We have a lot to learn. And again, we just look for as God opens up doors, what do we need to do? Speak, videos, whatever we need to do to promote it. We're looking forward to doing it.
Is he giving you opportunities? You both have, you've established, you're professionals, you've got contacts and networks through the years. Is he giving you opportunities to speak?
You know what? I think the Lord might have us to be more direct with people. I think he's going to have us go to them and say, we'd like to talk to you about this, and we'd like to speak about it. Because he's given us so much in this journey that I think that's one thing we're going to need to do is that.
The one thing that's exciting about God, it's always an adventure being a Christian. So to your point, we don't know. We're waiting on God. He may just open up. I believe some of those things will open up as people ask more about the book and when's the book coming out. And once we have opportunity, we'll take advantage of those opportunities.
Okay. So you're very open. You're waiting. You're eager for invitations, and people can get in touch with you, Lisa, or if they know you personally, they can get in touch with you, Marshall. Is that right?
That's correct.
Both.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Viewers, as you know, my normal method of operation is after each episode airs, I post the resources that have been mentioned. So Lisa's website, their social media for both of them, those will be posted. So you don't have to try to scribble stuff down and keep up with it. I'm going to give it to you, and you can just click on the link right after the episode, okay?
That's awesome.
So let's go back to the Writers Conference. You've gone before. You went last year and to one. You met the same person this year at a different Writers Conference. Give us a lowdown on that process, Lisa, please.
Oh, goodness sakes. Okay, it was at the same conference. It was at the Blue Ridge Mountain Christian Writers Conference.
Oh, both of them?
Yes, that's where I met Tessa last year. And
Tessa, who's Tessa?
You're going to get in trouble.
Emily Hall is my agent, our agent, I'll say that. Yeah, and I had kept in touch with her because I had sent a proposal, and sometimes it's notoriously slow when we hear back from them. That's no fault of theirs. It's a crazy, busy business for them. They get submissions of, probably an agency will get thousands of submissions. I don't want to say a week. I don't want to misspeak, but they get so many. So we had kept in touch. We'd gone back and forth, and then earlier in the year, I had sent Tessa I had sent the proposal. Went to this year's conference. I think the enemy was messing with me because I had it written down that I was supposed to meet with her. You have 15 minutes of appointments with agents, editors, with whomever you want to meet. And I was standing there, and there was somebody else sitting there, and I thought, oh, okay, there's somebody else taking my time. And Tessa looked up, she said, Lisa, did you miss an appointment? And I said, what? So she said, I really want to talk to you. Come and have supper with me. because everybody sits at these big round tables and you can sit and talk, and the agents and editors that's what they expect. So we sat and talked, and she said, when I get back and get a little bit of rest after this conference, first thing I'm going to do is look at your proposal. So then I heard from her, my goodness, like within a week or so, and we talked, and she said, we would like to talk about representation. We want to represent you. So yes, yay.
It's such a big day, isn't it?
Such a big day. And then they sent the contract. That's what Marshall and I signed. And Tessa sent the proposal back for editing. And I've worked with a couple people. I've worked with Jim Rubart, best-selling author. I've worked with Eva Marie Everson's group, editing group, on getting those first 3 chapters and probably the rest of the book edited so that the proposal is as sparkling as it can be to be sent to the publishers. But there's a whole section in there where they want to know, what are you going to do to market your book? What are you doing right now? What's your platform? How many people are you reaching? Are you on Twitter? Are you on Facebook? Are you on, Instagram and all of that? So I've had to do some work, and
Those are
a little bit
that's an area we don't have a lot of experience in, isn't it?
Exactly. Exactly.
But you sent it off today, is that right?
I sent the proposal today.
Now we wait again.
But you know what? Marshall and I have talked about this. It's all in God's timing.
It's time.
And
The psalmist says, wait on the Lord. Yea, I say, wait on the Lord. So it's something beautiful in waiting, knowing that we have a God who's always on time. He may not come when you want him to, but he's always on time. Can I get an amen out there?
Amen. Oh, wait. Amen. We learn more about him in the darkness and in the waiting room than on the mountaintop, don't we?
We do. We do.
I wish it was different. It's not. What have you found? This is your first book also, Marshall, obviously. So what have you found to be a challenge, not with Lisa, but with the process? How is it working for you? I know a lot of co-authors, and they have to find their rhythm, each person, and they join together, and they have a third rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great question. Sorry.
It is.
A great question.
Great question, Marshall. Yeah, it is finding a rhythm. So Lisa's teaching me again. She's been our ambassador and done so much of the work and going to the conferences and bringing me up to speed. So it's like double work for her. She goes and does and then brings me up to speed and pulls me in. I'm sort of like piggybacking. So I just get on the back and ride along with Lisa. But I'm finding out, I'm learning so much about the process. And that's some of where the question came from. Why do we got to do all this, Lisa? And because people are saying, when the book coming out? When is the book? You say you're going to. So to me, I'm feeling like we're way out. We're too far out. Until we have a book ready to go, why do we need to do all of this? To me, in my process, it would be write the book and then promote it, right?
And that seems reasonable.
Yeah, it does. But I'm finding out that's not really what you want. That's not the process, not the best process, perhaps.
Mm-hmm. You want to, even in your pre-launch stage, ideally, you will already have a body of people who have signed up for an email list, or they, in some way, they are connected with you already, so that you have a already engaged audience holding their credit card out when you pre-launch, so that you can pre-sell. And then when you launch, then the sales would increase instead of beginning from zero. You're gaining traction and momentum, right?
That's right. Get those credit cards out.
And Patricia, as we have learned all of this, and to answer Marshall's question directly, we have to show ourselves to be viable to a publisher.
Yes.
Especially as a first-time author. They need to know that we have a following, that there's a group of people already that are going to buy the book, because it's a business, it's a ministry, certainly, but there's also a business aspect to it. And we understand that.
And we as writers are naive to think that it's anything else. Even if you self-publish all the various options that are available right now, somebody's still got to get the word out. And nowadays, it's on the shoulders of the author, singular or plural.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Typically not the publishing house.
Right.
That way, if you already have a mindset that you're going to go out and do it, you're going to do what needs to be done, you're going to be consistent on social media, delivering presentations, on interviews and so forth, hosting interviews, because you do your own Facebook Live shows. Once you've committed to that, then anything that the publisher does is gravy on top, right?
Yes.
Correct, yes.
Mm.
Racing.
Let me check Facebook again. Evelyn Wells says, hey, I'm watching from North Georgia.
Yay! Hi!
Jeannie Waters says, Marshall, how did you decide Lisa was the one to write your story? Great question, Jeannie.
That is a great question, Jeannie. I don't know how I decided. I think it probably was God, because we look to follow God in all of this process and understand that He is in the center of what we've done. Lisa and I prayed about it. Like you said, when we first started, Jeannie, we met in God. We saw confirmation from the Holy Spirit in terms of me thinking about writing this story and her thinking about writing it before authoring it with us or with me. So that's kind of how it started. And so I just knew she was the one. I mean, she's gifted. She knows me. I trust her. And trust me, she's opened me up like a like a book. And there's things I have not wanted to do, but just doing the research and the background, the questions, and all that she's done, that we think to make this a great story of God and His redemptive story.
I know that people had told you periodically through the years, you've got to write a book. So what was had you always considered that, or when they said that to you, where you're like, no?
Tell them what you really see it as.
Yeah, I really see it in my head. I see it as a movie. I think the book is just
a precursor to the movie. Okay.
So in my head, when we're talking about it, I see it playing out. I see it in living color, technicolor, if you will. So I'm hoping that even as we write it, when people read it, they'll also be able to see it that way. And then at some point, we're dreaming big, because I think it would play out big on the big screen. So thinking about it, yeah, lots of people asking me, so when are you gonna write? You should write a book. Do you have tapes of that and things like that? And of course I didn't. And then God brought us together and we started to think about it, and then obviously pray about maybe I'll write this book and God's glory. Again, remember, it's not for us. It's really His story in and through me and us, her vicariously in the sense of living this with me. And part of it she has lived. So we've been together for a few years. So she lived part of this with me.
Plus your wife doesn't have to do it, right?
That's right. We always work together so much. You can only have one boss, and that's Lisa. So I have two of them. So
let me check. I think we have some more comments here. Rolling it in, giving it a little bit of an update here. Zena Hermes says, amen to what you just said. Kathy, we got Kathy. I thought we had one more. Yes, we do have some. So let's see there. We have 11 comments. Sometimes I have a little tricky problem with Facebook letting me see all of the comments while we're actually live. That's what it's supposed to do, but sometimes it doesn't cooperate. So for everyone who has commented and we haven't read your comment, forgive me, I can't see it. Immediately after we get off the air, I will be able to see it. And Lisa and Marshall will stick around and they'll interact as well. So do you two feel like this is going to be a long-term, not trying to get you to divulge anything, do you feel like this is going to be a long-term partnership possibly?
Yes, we believe it's eternal. So starting here, and we're going to roll into eternity with this long-time partnership. Yes, we both are saved and know Jesus Christ. We know what the future holds in terms of what the Bible promises us. And so, we know this part of it is just temporary.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're already friends. We're already brother and sister. We're already, the three of us are yoked. We're family.
Mm-hmm.
I got here today and he asked me if I wanted water. I said, yeah. He says, well, go ahead and get it. I said,
that's right.
You got it.
That's the sign of a good friendship.
You don't mind serving, but.
No, it was good.
Yep, that's true. You know you've arrived in the friendship department when somebody says, "Go ahead and get it."
Yeah.
That's
Or you
right.
or go in somebody's refrigerator. You know, when they you just walk in and go in the refrigerator, you know you're good,
It's
right?
true.
Your
It's
family,
true.
sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you both have more to say, don't you? No matter how much you've got packed in that book, there's more to the story. And Lisa, you have your own compelling story as well, don't you?
Yeah. I need to tell you though, as we have gone through this, Marshall has said on a number of times, you know what I'm going to say, he said, man, there's got to be another book.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
You're keeping notes and separating them out, aren't you, for book number 2 and book number 3?
Uh-oh, I better start, huh?
Yeah.
No, we're keeping notes, yeah. Because there's so much to it. It's so rich. It's such an incredible story, and God continues it. And I guess he just figured right now is the time for part 1.
This installment.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. I said, as old as I am, the longer I live, the longer the story gets. It's more to add to the story.
It's true.
Oh, gracious. Okay,
Let
so
me tell you something. I just want to tell you something real quick about family. I had Marshall and Katika is his wife, read the first 3 chapters as edited, because those 3 chapters are what goes in the proposal, which goes to the publisher. That, you know, marketing is great, but the elementary thing is you got to know how to write, right? So I sent it over to Marshall to read, and I just said, Lord, and my prayer through the whole thing has been, Lord, please, I want this to be true to the story that you have given Marshall. It needs to read as it needs to read. And
yes.
so, you know, and then I didn't think about it. I just had a piece about it. I sweat a few bullets, but then it was okay. And I wasn't thinking about it. And then I saw, you know, he was calling me. He says, I know you. He says, I know you're waiting to hear back from me. He said, we got it. You nailed it. And then, yes. And then to add the icing, we did gravy earlier. We're going to add some icing now. I got a text from Teek, and she said there was just so much more of an insight that she got to Marshall from some of that background stuff. Of course, you know, if he had it stuffed, you know, he's not going to like just talk about it all the time. But, you know, as he said, I've been poking and prodding and asking questions that lead him to other memories. And it's been rough on him. But it's just something we had to get to.
You can't, a reader, excuse me, a reader doesn't really appreciate the value of the victory if they haven't been in the prison with you, do they? Whether it's a dungeon, a prison, a cavern, fill in the blank with the dark area, that dark space where it's just you and Jesus and nobody else.
Yeah, that's profound. That's true.
It is profound.
And you don't even know if it's ever going to be any different.
We hope that you can enter in. So I think in terms of a good book where the author can take you in there with them, and you can get in there with them, you know, and say, wow, through their life. You
got to break that heart open a little bit, don't you? And let it bleed just a little bit. Jesus is there to heal it again, but you got to be open, don't you?
Yes.
You do, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You pay a price to share that kind of intimacy, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So I've shared things. Again, you know, when you think about being with your mate, you just don't always ask those kind of questions. So it's a lot probably that you may never know. I mean, if it's not asked. So you just don't always just sit and divulge. Tell me about, I mean, in general you do. You may tell them about your life and things you've experienced, but to get into the details and start digging, well, tell me more about that and how that happened, how that make you feel, and so on and so forth. As you know, many times at least in our relationship, we didn't have a chance to do all that. She knew something, but she's finding out a lot more as we write the book.
We honor your sacrifice, Marshall, to share those things with the world.
Yeah.
What do you two hope and pray Christ will do, God will do with this book for the audience that he has already created? They're waiting for you. They're just waiting for you to find them, and they're waiting to find you, and their lives are going to be changed. What do you pray? Has he given you a vision? of what could happen,
Yes.
other than the movie, which is a given.
Well, you know, ultimately, it's to bring glory to God. And to do that, we want this story. Marshall said this from the outset. This is all about God's story in my life. This is not about me. This is about him. And if this changes just one life, it's enough, because that's what God has ordained for this. But we're thinking big because God is big. We're thinking it's going to change many lives, and that is the goal. That is the goal.
That's right. You know, it's the gospel. It's the good news of the gospel in my life, and how it can be realized in so many others' lives. And we're on our way. We have destination. You say, is this a long-term relationship? We have a destination, and we know where we're headed. And our goal is to take as many with us as we can. Come on, let's go. We're headed somewhere. We're going to spend eternity with Jesus Christ, and we want you to come along with us. That's why God came. He loves you and has a plan for your life, and a redemptive plan. So it's the best thing ever. There's nothing better than being a Christian. There's nothing better than having a relationship. When I say Christian, let me say a relationship with Christ, a personal relationship with Christ. So it's nothing better than that. So that's our message, and it'll come through the book. So folks would say, you know, I want to look past that guy. If God can do that in that guy's life,
yes.
Yeah.
There you go. That's it. That's it.
Yep, there's hope.
Even if we haven't been in that dark place, we need to know the dark place that we're currently in, or we're going to be in a month or a year. Doesn't have to have the same label on the top of the, you know, over the door.
Right.
We need the truths and the concepts and the wisdom and the insights that you're going to share in this book.
Yeah,
exactly.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm getting excited.
All right.
Let's see. Oh, so once again, we want to mention that if you are interested, whether you're watching the live version or the replay, if you're interested, I'm going to add that link at the top of Lisa's website. Marshall doesn't currently have one. Is that right?
Correct.
Last time I checked, yesterday, you didn't have one.
I didn't get it in. Patricia. So.
It'll work.
Yes, it is. It is. But you can go to Lisa's website and get information about that. Sign up for her regular newsletter, and then she will let you know as the progress goes, the book goes further and further, closer and closer. Speaking of which, we didn't ask, what is the working title, please? And do you have a ballpark launch date, or you're not really that far along for that yet, are you?
Tell the title.
Well, the name of the title of the book is Someplace Be Somebody.
Now that means something to you. What does that mean to you, Marshall?
Well, you know, when you've been in a lifestyle where you felt like you didn't matter, you didn't have significance, you may feel like you didn't have worth in your current circumstance or the context that you were raised in, then to know that there is some place that you can be somebody, and that somebody is understanding who you are in Christ and how much he loved you and how he died for you. Had it only been Marshall Brandon, he would have died for me. So it's someplace. I found someplace to be somebody.
I just love that. It touches my heart. Who doesn't want to know that? Who doesn't need to hear that?
Yeah. Yeah. And as far as the date, that is entirely up to the Lord. I'm praying big because God is big, that our wonderful agency gets this. The proposal is good. They submit it to a big old honking publisher. And they say, yes, let's do this. We have to get this out quickly. You know, there's no harm in praying a big prayer like that.
I believe God's already working. Disney, MGM, God's already working. He's way out there. He's got all this planned. We're going to see the movie first and then the movie. So,
okay. Invite me for the premiere, please. I would like to attend.
Yes, ma'am. You got it. You got it. I will tell you, you referenced my website. Part of what we're doing marketing-wise is, and for the readers, the potential readers, and those who want to get the book, is Marshall and I have just embarked on a series of videos that are going to be exclusive content for those who actually go to the website and sign up. They will not be put on Facebook. They won't be put on YouTube. They'll be going just to the people who sign up. So they're going to get background information that is not in the book. It's going to be, you know, some of it is just the process of the book,
Oh, I see.
yeah,
Behind the scenes things.
behind the scenes.
People love behind the scenes things.
Yes.
That's right.
And that's
Outtakes and all those kind of things.
yes.
We aren't cutting anything.
That's a great marketing approach. Give your audience, your potential audience, a reason to sign up other than, something that they'll get today. They want to sign up so they'll be on the wait list for the book itself and be made aware of the progress of the book. But if you give them something today and you make it available and it's valuable and it's unique, it's a great marketing tactic right there. That will spur some people, a percentage of people who might not have signed up. They will go ahead and bite the bullet and they'll put their email address in there. Now you've got another name that you can contact periodically to let them know this is what's happening. This is what's going on.
This is valuable stuff. It's valuable information.
Yes, I love that approach. Thank you so very much to both of you. I've enjoyed speaking to you and listening to your stories.
Thank you, Patricia.
Thank you, Patricia. We really appreciate
You're wonderful.
giving us this opportunity to partner with you today on Facebook. We look forward to maybe in the future doing a review and how things are going along the way. So we love it.
That'd be. I'd like to that. Okay, write that down. Okay, thank you too, viewers. Let me mention to you that Nan Smith came on and she's got a big happy face.
Hey,
Nana.
Hey, Nana.
What's up, Nana?
There are supposed to be others. I'm being told that there are more comments numerically, but it's not showing them to me, so I can't do anything about it. If y'all just sort of hang around a little bit.
Make sure we get back to everybody.
Thank you. Viewers, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been an exciting, fun-filled, energized interview with Lisa Kibler and Pastor Marshall Brandon. The book is going to be phenomenal. Make sure that you go to lisakibler.com, which I'm going to put above the link above the video today after the episode airs. Sign up for this book. You want to keep up with what's going on and get this fresh hot off the presses. Plus, you'll get the behind-the-scenes videos that Lisa just mentioned that are only going to be there, nowhere else. They're exclusive to this process. Next, let me say, this is episode number 105, Marketers on a Mission number 105, with my guests, Lisa Kibler and Pastor Marshall Brandon. Next week, I got another great lineup of guests for you, along with tutorials that I'll be delivering myself. We want to help you market your message online so that other people can hear the good news and change their eternal destiny. Until next week, I'm Patricia Durgan, the Christian Message Coach. Thanks very much to Lisa and Marshall. And thank you. See you next week.
God bless you.
Bye.